listening to Women in Wellness, a program to help you create gorgeous growth for your blissful business in health and wellness. I'm Dr. Gabby, holistic health expert and founder of Women in Wellness, a one-of-a-kind course and community designed to empower and inform you about how to build a purposeful and profitable holistic business. I'm really excited for today's interview. I have a terrific guest, Roberta Mittman. Roberta is a health and wellness coach, acupuncturist, author, speaker, and founder of the Park Avenue Center for Wellbeing in New York City. She's also the author of Ultimate Wellness, the 3 mental shifts you can use to change the course of your health right now. Hi, Roberta.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so thrilled to be here today.
I so love that you're in New York and I'm in Miami because I'm like absorbing some New York through the through the call, and I'm sending you sunshine.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we could use a little bit today. Thank you. I will gladly take anything warmth that you can send my way here today.
So you came to integrative health a little bit later. I was sort of, that was my first and only career. So I never really went a different path, but you came to this a little bit later. Can you tell us like a little bit of what the catalyst was to getting into this and why you decided to go into this career?
Sure. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a help. Also my story for people that are saying, it's too late, I'm too old, what can I do to make a difference? And that's, what I heard all the time from people around me, or, oh, wouldn't it be great if? Well, I come from an MD, alternative MD family. And my father was one of the first MD acupuncturists in my state, New York State.
Wow.
This is like this was so long ago. Even as a child, I remember this and nobody understood it. They didn't get the acupuncture part. They thought he was a little nutty, but honestly, he was always a very integrative, alternative guy. And he was so good at it. And that registered with me. And I thought, oh my goodness, like alternative. And as I'm growing up and listening to him and his stories, I thought, okay, I don't think I want to be a doctor and go through the training and everything. I don't know if that's my calling, but I love all the alternative options, and I love nutrition, and I love all those things. So I was a go-to person for my friends, and I actually was for many, many years a suburban mom. I loved raising my children, and I was very fortunate to be able to do that. But as they got older, like going to college, and I'm in my 40s, I'm like, okay, this is now, it's my turn. So when they were in high school, I decided to go to acupuncture school, and I enrolled in all the colleges. I had to take all the science classes with all the kids, and I absolutely loved it.
Yay!
That's my basic story. And I would say that my father inspired the concept of the best of East and West, because I really feel that is really the best way for everyone to go.
It's so cool that I also had a dad that was a doctor, but I'm super jealous because my dad was as far right in medicine, if we could use like a political analogy.
Yes.
My dad was like, it's like every time we coughed, he gave us an antibiotic,
Right.
every time we fell down, like, medicine.
So this is even going back further. So you can imagine that people were like kind of saying like, what on earth is he up to? But, he really was able to blend it. And that was so cool, right?
That's so exciting.
And look how you've evolved, because your dad was so entrenched in the Western world. And here you are interviewing all of these amazing women who are involved in so many different things. Like, what would he say?
Well, it took about 20 years of like conversations to get him to at least acknowledge that there was value. Because I went to massage school and yoga school and all that stuff. And he had wanted me to do the MD. He's like, you need to be a psychiatrist. He was a neurologist and psychiatrist. And
Wow.
he wanted me to do that. And I was like, but Dad, I like meditation and nutrition. And so it took a lot of conversation. And eventually towards the end of his life, he came around to really understanding the value. But
Oh, good.
it
Okay.
took a long time.
There's a good ending to that story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a practice now in the city, right?
I practice in the city, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I had a wellness center. So I just was going to tell you that I started by working for different doctors. And then I decided, was in their practice. I was always in a doctor's practice. I always liked that, being with an MD. And then just to make a long story short, I said, you know what? This is my time. I always wanted to have a wellness center where you had all these different options for people. And so I opened up the Park Avenue Center for Wellbeing. It was on Park Avenue and 36th Street, and it was fabulous. I loved it. That was my dream. And I'm so excited because I was actually able to achieve this dream.
That's incredible.
At a very late age. I mean, I'm a grandmother. So I can tell you that I'm not such a young grandmother either. So that, I was just able to decide that I'm going to do something really meaningful with my life, and it's the best thing I ever did, and I never looked back.
I don't ask this to many people because I don't know many people that opened a center, but I had a center for a short time in California, and it was kind of a disaster because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was young.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. So did you just open the center, or how did you make that work? How did you find the client?
Good question. Well, I had been in various doctors' offices, and I saw how that was running. And I also had an idea of what I wanted to offer in advance. And I found another doctor who is an endocrinologist, an MD, and we opened a wellness center together. And I had half and she had half, and it was run very differently. She was the West, I was kind of East, but I just surrounded myself with really good people. We had a great assistant, and I had somebody that was much more organized and fine-tuned in those details than I was, because I wanted to show up and help people. I didn't necessarily want to arrange for all the phone service and the laundry and when something went wrong and whatever. So I had good people, and I also rented out space to really very, very interesting people. And it just thrived. It really did. And then after 10 years, I decided that, you know what? I don't want to worry about being a landlord and getting the rent and worrying about floods and leaks and things. I had other people to do that, but I went and I opened up in nearby my own office again, and a private office, and I'm able to do different things there because I've evolved a little bit into private coaching.
You've added so many cool things, like the acupuncture thing, and then the coaching thing, and then writing and speaking, and you made your book. Was that just sort of like an evolution of passion?
Yes and no. It was rather organic because I always hired coaches. For me, this is not something that comes to me firsthand. I always had a great business coach who really was able to help me see a vision when I couldn't see it, and inspired me to write your book and be online with my newsletters. I have one every 2 weeks, and I write them myself. And, they take a lot of effort, but I really enjoy getting the word out. My website is my name, www.robertamittman.com. And I try and get the word out there by business coaches, but also my interest. But I love the emotional component of things. And so I study we have a little New York.
I know, the siren.
Perfect. About the meridians. In Chinese medicine, energy flows through meridians. And so I talk to people through what their body seems to say about their meridians. It uses muscle testing and the emotional component behind things. And then I went to IIN to learn nutrition, and I think it's a great step for people who want to think about getting into health and wellness for people. Right now it's online. When I went, it was actually a school and you went to the classes, but now it's a great online program. You know, it was just an evolution. How about you? How did you find you added different things to yours?
I went to my undergrad program in psych. I studied
Okay.
psychology, and I thought I was going to go all the way with psych and become a psychologist. And then they introduced us to some holistic stuff in my undergrad, and I was like, "Ooh, this is fun!" Like they brought in a massage therapist and energy healers and stuff, and I was just super fast. I love the spiritual side of things. I love the esoteric. I love meditation and philosophy, and I love how our relationship to our spiritual practice affects our health and well-being. So I stayed on that path and just did my research and did my practice. But I love how you mentioned the meridians. Are you, over the years in your practice, like who's primarily coming to you? And is it like, are you seeing a lot of this inflammation and chronic disease stuff? That seems to be the kind of the sort of main epidemics now, right?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. So in my office practice, it's really across the board. So it'd be everything from, let's say, fertility and headaches and indigestion, but a lot of pain, and almost always we can always trace it back to stress somehow. And that seems to be the biggest thing, and that leads to inflammation. But I also do east and west, and especially with acupuncture, because I do trigger point work, which is a Western concept layered on top of beautiful, elegant Chinese medicine. And then I use the meridians to find the emotional component. Like, what is your body saying? Why are you holding that pain there? And what does that seem to say? And what's the emotion behind it? And maybe where it came from. So it's really truly holistic. And then also about nutrition, like what could you be eating that could be different, and how could you be moving and exercising that could be different. And so it's really like nothing's left behind. We have to look at the whole person. So people who come to me in my office, it's across the board. And in my coaching practice, which is on the phone, it's actually people around the world, which is really exciting because, you know, with the internet, you can really contact anybody. And I enjoy working with especially women over 40 in that particular aspect of my practice.
And then at that age, it starts to get into a lot of like thyroid stuff and hormonal balance stuff. Is that what you're seeing?
I see a lot of that, but in addition, I see people who have weight issues. That seems to be the biggest magnet because people's bodies stop responding in the way that it used to when they were younger. So it has to do a lot with change, a lot with weight, and a lot with self-acceptance as we grow older. And I would say also, as you said, like a lot of those endocrinology type of issues. Definitely, thyroid is such a huge thing.
You mentioned self-acceptance. Is that a challenge for a lot of people? I mean, we talk a lot about that in my community in terms of becoming more self-empowered and, having a stronger sense of self-worth, so that you can do the work that you want to do, like you mentioned, not listening to the naysayers and like doing the work that you want to do, following your passion. What is going on with self-acceptance, do you think, in your community?
In my community, it seems to be all the should have done this, should be doing this. It's all a lot of people pleasing still. And most of all, I find that the thing that gets in the way of self-acceptance are the stories that we carry around from the past. All emotions are basically histories of the past. And if we start to believe those and go down that rabbit hole of the negative ones, those are the ones that kind of like get our attention, are the juiciest ones. And I feel that it holds us back from really moving ahead either to today and having some kind of even a look to the future. And that's one of the messages that I hope comes out in our interview today, because it's never too late and we only have today. and the future is looking a little shorter than the past. So it's really important to kind of maximize everything and not get too entangled in the stories that we've built around these things.
That's amazing. I mean, when I did my dissertation, I focused on the stories the women healers had, like the narrative of their life and the people that inspired them and things like that. And I've noticed that for me personally, I can take any event and I can write it as a bad story or a good story, right? Like you can say, oh, well, this was like an obstacle on my path, but then all these good things came from it. Or you can write this story about how the universe is against you and nothing works out the way you want it to.
Absolutely. To me, the universe has your back, and looking for those signs are like the most wonderful like journey that there is. And that's what I really help people to find. How can you start to look at things with and it's not rose-colored glasses. It's just looking at things the way they really are, and it's usually not as terrible and whatever as we think it is. It can be really like an amazing growth experience.
Is there anything specific that you do to get someone to shift that story? If they get on the phone with you and they're like, oh, my kids, my husband, like, is there certain strategies that you use to get them to shift?
There is actually the modality that I was telling you about that I use in my office to use the meridians to find the motion of what the person's body seems to say. I actually do that on the phone with people. And it's really hard to describe it this very second, like in 2 seconds or less, but it is a way for me to find what that person seems to be holding. And it's like uncannily
accurate.
Accurate. And it really brings up, it's like food for thought, and it really releases a lot of things that people have been holding for a long time. I hear that all the time, like, I haven't thought about that in ages. And this is like so huge. So that's what I use. And it really works very nicely for me.
That's awesome. That's great. So what exciting things are you planning for the future? Are you building, more online things? What's happening in your practice?
In my practice right now, I'm actually really enjoying the combination of having people come. I've kind of gone down to 3 days a week in my practice, and I'm adding more coaching time for people. It seems like it's getting busier, and I really love that. And so I'm kind of like inviting people to come into that, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm also going to have some more programs that I'm going to be offering. I seem to get some requests for those, and it's really geared to the woman over 40. And I think that it's going to be exciting to help people move into that next stage of their life, feeling fabulous and having a confidence to like know that, wow, I'm here and that's really, it's okay.
Yeah. And it seems like the kind of mainstream consciousness is finally catching up with this. I write for a lot of different blogs like Mind Body Green, and now Ariana Huffington just came out with this whole Thrive Global movement. I don't know if you've seen that, but like there seems to be this just surge of awareness
and exciting
acceptance of the holistic model. It's a great time, right?
It's the best time ever. I really feel like so lucky to be alive at this time because, there's so many options for people and so many opportunities to kind of get like to get steps from people who've kind of already been there and maybe have some suggestions, but also like to start to put into action and not to be afraid to do that. To try something that they hear and to actually move ahead. And I think there's more acceptance now than there ever was. When I started with acupuncture, people would look at me and go like, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this, But now like things have evolved and there's so many wonderful things. And I just hope people don't get lost in the way and they don't get too overwhelmed and just kind of find a couple of things they can try at a time. And that's really, I think, the goal.
What do you
Interesting.
think in terms of getting lost? Is there certain things that you think people should look for when they're picking a practitioner or modality or a treatment plan?
Good question. I think it's really important to see what they feel has worked in the past and what actually they can accomplish. I personally feel that many times we can be stretched a little bit, but if somebody's suggesting something, unless it's for a medical reason and you absolutely need to, like, you have to cut this out forever, I kind of feel that if it's something that you can 95% do and accomplish, then it's kind of the right thing for you. Because otherwise, if it's too much with deprivation or you're not really doing the things that you love to do, or it's too strict, I kind of feel that as human beings, we're going to necessarily fight against that. And it's going to come back, what you resist persists. So I finally like to kind of try different things on for size and see what actually is going to, like, are you be able to sustain and for a while because it feels right.
I think that's good advice across the board, like whether it's food or exercise or your business or your
Everything.
relationships, like what are you going to be able to sustain that feels good and
Yeah.
feels
I
right?
usually ask people, what can you 95% see yourself doing? Other 5% could be a little bit of a stretch, and that's great. But I really feel like people need to be able to, like, try it on and work with it and feel like it's kind of they're comfortable with it, and then move on to the next thing instead of like jumping into something because it's so far in and it's not going to be part of their MO. I just feel it backfires. Just to kind of know yourself a little bit and feel if it feels right.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, so how can people find, I know you mentioned the website, Roberta Mittman, and you mentioned
Yeah,
the newsletter.
my
And then before we got on the call, you said that there's something that you like to offer people. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, if I think at this time of year, after January, people want to, like, have a fresh start. So I'd love to offer this 10-day, I call it no juicing required detox. Nothing fancy. You don't need to be like, get by your blender. You don't need to go and get 100 different special foods. You actually eat real food, but you eat from a specific list, and it actually will help you to press the reboot button and kind of feel like you're starting 2017 in a really healthy, balanced way. And just to get that is totally a gift. It's free. It's www.robertamittman.com. That's mittman.com/detox. And you just sign up, and if something is sent into your inbox and I hold your hand every step of the way, it's only 10 days. And I always say to people, you can do 10 days of anything, and this is not torture. You can do this easily, and I think you'll feel great.
That's awesome. We love you, Roberta. Thank
Yeah,
you for offering that. I hope everybody goes to your website, robertamittman.com/detox.
thank
And
you.
tries the 10-day detox. That would be so cool. We'd love to hear about how that worked out for you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so excited that our paths have crossed, and I'll be in New York several times in 2017. So hopefully we
Great.
meet
Oh,
up in
definitely. We'll
person.
gain some information and work something out when you come.
Yeah, thanks for
I think
joining us today.
you'll be here, like, in New York before I get to Miami, unfortunately.
Well, you're
Although I
welcome
wish it were the other way
anytime.
around. I love New York. I'm only kidding.
Thanks so much, Roberta.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me today. It was so much fun.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can join the Women in Wellness Club at women-in-wellness.com.